There's a reason that I'm not greeting you with the peace greeting this time, and that is because this message is not peaceful. In the wake of Kobe Bryant's death, I've listened to Gail and Oprah again go in on a black man's legacy. Yet Gayle King is still friends with Charlie Rose. I have listened to my former Muslim kinfolk say that Gayle King and Oprah are right for going after black men and focusing on black men because the majority of black women's sexual assaulters are black men. And while this may be true, you don't hear white women going in on white men specifically for sexual assault in their community, even though the majority of their assailants are white men. But this is not compare. I'm seeing this issue between black men and women get into families. And it's going to get into mine soon because my former Muslim kinfolk was abused by her husband, and I saw the screenshots to prove it. She brought the receipts to back up her claim, but now he has pushed her too far to that side. And now her ex-husband, typical Negro, practicing niglam, left a bad taste in her mouth. But we got to speak the truth even when it's against ourselves and against even our parents and our kids. And that means I got to do it even when we get together as a family the next time I got a call on it. You got abused by one niglam, and then after that, you're like, don't tell me about both sides and what men and women do to each other. I don't want to hear about how it goes both ways. It's you men. And now I'm here to tell you, kinfolk, in front of the family, that you're going too goddamn far. I'm not a problem because I'm a man. I'm a problem because I'm human. Most human beings are problems. That doesn't justify us going around and intentionally deciding to create more problems or very selectively pointing fingers at blame for crimes that people are committing. That mess has to stop. What you're dealing with, black man, is a scenario in which your aunts, your sisters, your cousins, your grandmothers, mothers, and eventually even your daughters, if you are not careful, are going to point fingers at you and blame you for things you did not do, or have grudges with you because of what other black men did do or did not do. And they're not going to point the fingers at what white men have done to both of us, and they're even going to exonerate white men who are guilty of what they blame you for. You do not owe it to them to be merciful in a case like this. Not once you've shown your receipts. And let's call it what the hell it is. Some have said, well, if you're the kind of guy that sisters didn't want, then why didn't you get yourself a woman similar? Well, that's because you can be a guy that's in shape. And you just happen to have interests that are not stereotypical. And therefore, you're seen as automatically not interesting. But by the same token, you become the guy that they're telling to settle for the one that's out of shape and the one that does not have options in men, not because of our culture being jacked up, but not having options in men because her shape is jacked up. In other words, men in any community would not really take notice of her. That's where the difference comes in. You still were required to be more and do more and have more in order to impress someone who had less and was less and did less. You still, and who was going to talk feminism at the end of all of it. You were required, you were expected and taken for granted to be ready to accept the mutually exclusive combination of hypergamy and feminism from the same woman while being monogamous. While she drove you away with this combination because of one thing, because you didn't fit negative stereotypes. And now they're telling you that you're bitter because you're saying, I'm not dealing with that anymore. So this is not a time for mercy. Snoop Dogg was not tactically smart for saying, before we come get you. However, he was not morally wrong. And Susan Rice was morally wrong, especially considering the fact that her son is an avid Trump supporter. Yes, that's a damn problem. That is not okay. You think he's an avid Trump supporter because somehow he's woke or because he sees how the Democrats are screwing things up? No. The boy's a Trump supporter because he's an avid Republican who wants to distance himself from the stereotypes of blackness that white folks have, because the nation's racially polarizing, and he's not really happy about the percentage of black blood that shows in his hair. Ain't nothing red pill about that boy. Susan Rice will sit up and say, well, he's 19, he's making his own decisions. But these same sisters will go in on someone like BGS because of what his daughter did when she was an adult. So we're dealing with straight up hypocrisy, and it's open. And when you're dealing with people that are brainwashed, or you're dealing with people that are traumatized, you have a reason to be somewhat merciful. But see, we're dealing with a trauma victim who has resorted to hypocrisy in order to further traumatize us on behalf of the one that traumatized both of us. Assalamu alaikum. And so therefore, we don't have a reason to be nice and merciful anymore. They ate that up. Time for mercy is done. This is an argument that is getting into families now, at the individual level. But this means that a lot of men, all you got to do now in this day and age is slip one of your male relatives a piece of paper with a hashtag written on it. He gets into a heated argument with your lady cousin or with your aunt. Later on, just slip him the paper. SYSBM, IBMOR, Passport Brothers. Tell him to listen to that for about 9 months. He'll be ready. He'll have a solution in at that point. A pound sign and some 5-letter acronyms can now solve all of this in their minds. And the more of them find out about this, the faster it spreads. When you're dealing with men who are against it, and they're not listening in to what we've been dealing with, like Steve the Dean Williams, keep in mind that this is why you got to be militant and go on the offense, like what I've been saying. He says, don't corrupt the youth with this. Nigga, this is not corruption. We're here to corrupt the youth. Don't you corrupt our youth with your ideas of having to have some kind of game in order to qualify for what MOT would call a damn reptile. Don't tell us to change. You change. We're done changing. As a matter of fact, there's not really much we can do to change. This needs to be understood and reiterated. We need to be clear on this. We need to make that understood. We ain't changing a damn thing except we're going to turn up the militancy, because now we're seeing the proof again. Again, like this happened before. And now we're seeing the same pattern again. It's not just because it's 2 women, but it is because it is 2 women who are being backed by more and more sisters, and who are also being confronted by more and more sisters who keep repeating this process. We're done with them. See, we don't turn our backs on people that are actually with us. We didn't turn our backs on April Mason. It was a cousin that needed protection. It wasn't her. We just didn't know if her cousin was telling the truth, and she wasn't. We were largely unaware of what was going on, and it turns out it was a doggone lie in the first place. We're seeing proof after proof after proof after proof of what we are saying. So no, we're going for the minds of the young brothers, and we're not letting them go after the minds of the young brothers with their stuff. I hope this has been a benefit, and I hope one day it won't be true anymore. The blackest man on social media signing black out. Assalamu alaikum.